Hi everybody, I'm Tabitha and today we're wrapping up October. October brings cooler weather, later sunrises, earlier sunsets, all my favorite things. But this October also brought about some pretty heavy family stuff that can sometimes eat into my writing time or my reading time. So let's check into my goals and see how productive I was able to be this month. You might remember I was working towards 2020 year-long goals that looked like this. At the end of September, the progress on those goals looked more like this. I made some really great progress going into this month. I am really grateful that the start of 2020 saw such productivity out of me. It allowed me to forgive myself if I had to take a step back to focus on some family stuff or focus on other things that were going on. Basically, just when real life got in the way, this format of goals allowed me to forgive myself for that. So I cannot talk about how much I will be championing year-long goals from here on out. I think it's just the best way to move forward, especially for me, an irrational perfectionist. Anyway, as always, I'm going to start at the top of the year-long document and work my way down and just check on each one of these things as we go. Are you ready? Of course, the goal at the top of the page was to publish Training Tutor, so this is your monthly reminder to get out there and get a copy of that book. And if you already have a copy, a reminder to read it and leave a review somewhere, maybe Goodreads or Amazon, because reviews are awesome. Next up, the editing box. I didn't really focus much on the editing box in the month of October because I think these two projects were finished in July. Full disclosure, both these two projects, the Magical YA and the Fron 4, will both need grammatical edits, 4 grammatical errors eventually, but right now they're with beta, so I'm not rushing that, and I'm just happy that I've made the progress I saw myself making. So that's awesome. Next up, the zero draft box. One exciting thing to come out of October 2020 is definitely that the Ghostly YA is done. I did post about it on social media when I finished. It's zero draft done. I was writing it. When I wrote the outline, I focused on that major story arc and Annie's line and she's the main character, and what was going to happen to her and what I wanted her to finish with. And as I was writing it, I connected more with the antagonist and I have more of his backstory and more of what drives him to that breaking point. More of, I think, how he makes the story great. And so I know now that I'm done with it, eventually I'll have to go back and I want to add more of him to the story. I think I'm going to add a side arc of his into the story a little bit, get you a little more of his backstory. I think you're going to fall in love with him, which is weird because he's the antagonist. He's my favorite kind of character. He sort of breaks my heart in a great way. He's a really good guy in a really bad spot who makes a really bad choice. So I just want to make sure I get more of him in that. So I know it's going to need a major rewrite. I don't foresee myself touching that again until 2021, but I am done with the zero draft, and that's really exciting. I think it's likely this one will make a comeback, but definitely not right now. I know the Nano project's coming up, but we'll talk about Nano more when we get to blogging, but I'm happy with it. It's weird to say this, but that zero draft box is done. I've written everything I saw myself zero drafting in 2020. It's a cool feeling, but weird. Now on to those goals at the bottom of the page. The first one was the goal to post 24 short stories, scenes, or poems to my blog at tabithashipleybooks.com. You may remember that I fell behind on that goal for the first time in September by missing one blog post, which didn't seem like a big deal, and I kept saying I could make that up. In October, I posted to the blog exactly 8 times, including the companion post to this video you're watching right now. 3 of those were about Nano and my progress towards Nano and choosing an idea for Nano, which you should definitely check out. They're basically ideas and outlines. They don't count as short stories, scenes, or poems. So this is where my lack of progress in 2020 is going to come from, it looks like, because I posted exactly 0 short stories, scenes, or poems to the blog. That means I needed to make up 1 before, and now I'm going to need to make up 3. It's not looking great going into November as far as this goal goes. However, the blog is still a great place for you to check out and follow my Nano journey, especially if you're doing National Novel Writing Month, which is coming in November. I've pledged to blog my way through it for good or for bad. I dropped links already. So I'll make sure in the description you can find them to the brainstorming or the planning sessions for Ideas 1 and Ideas 2. So you can check those out and see which one I'm actually going to be going with for National Novel Writing Month. And then make sure you're following me on Nano. I might have been falling behind on this blog journey, but it's not because I'm not blogging. It's just because I've been real focused on Nano. So definitely check that out. Next up, the goal to bring you 52 fresh new content videos to this channel before the year was out. as including this one you're watching right now, I've posted 4 times in October. My favorite, but of course I'm biased, was the Q3 stats video because I really love looking back at everything that I read or wrote in an entire quarter and kind of breaking that down and seeing if I have any biases or seeing what got my attention and my focus. I just love that. So I'm going to make sure I drop that link for you in the description. Just check it out. Even if you're not a statistics person and you've been hesitant to try it, give it a try. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think about it. If my math is right, this is my 55th video for the year, which means I've officially met my 2020 YouTube goal. Now that doesn't mean we're going to stop posting. In fact, we've already got some quality planned out. We still want to be churning out a video a week for you, but it's cool to know that, like so many of the other things on my year-long 2020 goal, we actually get to put a big check mark next to that one and move on. That's crazy. Crazy. 2020 has turned out to be a wackier year than any of us could have ever imagined, and still I'm making progress. That's pretty cool. Last, but certainly never least, is my goal to read and review 104 books in 2020, which, of course, is 2 books per week. To help me out on that, even though I already met that way back and I don't even remember when, I set an official, quasi-official TBR every month, and for October, it looked like this. This TBR for October included 2 review requests. That was The Massacre at Yellow Hill and Red Winter in the West. I always want to get those backwards. And of course, included the 4 Shield challenges. Let's break down those Shield challenges and see what's getting the Shields in November. First up is the Shield for Been on My TBR the Longest. For October, this went to An Abundance of Catherines by John Green. I shocked some of you with my rather low rating of this one on my first set of reviews for October, which I'll make sure I put the review to in the description. If you've read An Abundance of Catherines and have an opinion on it, please make sure you watch that video and let me know if you agree with me or if I'm way off base and someday I should reread that. Let's see what's getting the Shield in October. No, in November. Woo. All right, I'm going to head over to Goodreads. I'm going to go to my want to read shelf. I'm going to sort by date added, which it already is, and go oldest, which it already is. So it looks like getting the Shield for November is Undeadly by Michelle Vale. This one has been on my TBR since like 2018, I think. I remember this one. I think I remember a student that I had at the time, or a student I had near that, recommended this one to me, told me they loved it, so I added it to my TBR. I don't have this one, but if I'm not mistaken, my library does, and I can borrow the ebook. My library is amazing. Special shout out to the Greater Phoenix Digital Library, because they have an online library that has audio and ebooks, and this is included on that one, I'm pretty sure. So I'll be getting it from there. So I'm officially adding Undeadly by Michelle Vale as the oldest book on my TBR for November. Next up is the Shield for the book on my TBR that has the lowest average reader rating according to Goodreads. For October, okay, this is a weird story. For October, that was supposed to be The House at the Bottom of the Lake by Josh Malerman. So, weird story. That book originally came out in 2016. Another booktuber read it, raved about it, thought it was wonderful, but specified that it's not for everybody, but I am the kind of reader she said it would be good for, which is how it found its way onto my TBR. Well, it turns out that I'm not the only one who thought this book was interesting, and a Big 5 publisher picked up this book. When they picked up the book, they pulled the electronic version of the original, and it's really hard to come by a print version. They're going to be really expensive if anybody has a print version and they're reselling it, because it was pulled. The book is being re-released in January of 2021. I don't have an ARC of this book, and I'm not willing to pay that much for a novella. So instead, I read Carve the Mark by Veronica Roth, which is also a really, really old book that had been on my TBR for a really, really long time. That book I'll be reviewing on my second crop of books for October. I was not as happy with it as I wanted to be. I was kind of disappointed in it. That's the only spoiler you get. You'll have to check out the second review when it drops to find out details. Let's find out what's getting the the Shield for oldest book on my TBR in November. I'm going to go back to Goodreads here. And instead of sorting by date added, I'm going to sort by average rating. Make sure it's going low to high. It looks like this is going to be The Mayday Murders by Scott Wittenberg. Oh, Mayday Murders. I remember that one, I think. I think I have it on my Nook. I don't know about you guys. Do you remember this? Like back when Nook came out and they were doing, maybe they still are, the like freebie Friday where a book came out every Friday totally for free and you could download it. When I first got my Nook, I was so good about that. I downloaded the book every Friday, and I'm pretty sure this is one of those. I remember it's a mystery thriller. I remember it's like a murder mystery. That's all I remember. So I do still have my Nook app on my iPhone, so I will have to make sure I read it that way. Cool. I'm intrigued by that. Yeah. So I'm officially adding The Mayday Murders by Scott Wittenberg to my November TBR as the lowest average reader rated book. Next up is the opposite side of that, and otherwise known as the Shield for highest average reader rating on Goodreads. For October, this book was Patchwork by Desiree Byers. This one is going up on my second review video for the month of October because it's the last one that I just finished. It is 4 horror short stories, and wow, they are horrific and wonderful, and I just cannot wait to tell you all how much I loved this book. So watch for that review to come in October round 2. Let's see what's getting that Shield for November. So I'm gonna go back to Goodreads. I'm already sorting by date added. I'm just gonna flip it and go high to low. I'm actually gonna skip this top one, A Map to the Stars, because it's an arc that's already on my November TBR. So yeah. So instead, it looks like that's going to The Tree of Life by Sarah Joy Greenhart. Sorry, my phone went to sleep. Had to pull it back up. I have this one in paperback. I've actually had it a really long time. Tree of Life is one that came to me back when I was doing my indie book box subscription, and so it's on my shelf, and I've been meaning to read it. I love Sarah. Follow her on Twitter. She's hilarious and awesome. I'm really, really excited to get my hands on this book and actually get it read in November. So yay, Shield Challenge. I am officially adding Tree of Life by Sarah Joy Greenhart to my November TBR as the highest average reader rated book. Next up is the Shield for books that are recommended to me based on recent 5-star reads. So I do want to say something really quick about this. When I started it in January of 2021, my idea was that I'd post that I did a 5-star video and you guys could all tell me here on other social media what to read. You still do that. But I also want to say that at the bookstore I get recommendations. I talk about books constantly in my real life, so I get recommendations from real life people. I get you guys messaging me and emailing me and recommending books to me, so I consider all of those. There's no right or wrong channel for these, so I just want you to know that, and you'll see what I'm talking about when I tell you what this month's is. But for October, this was Middle Game by Seanan McGuire. This was recommended based on what I loved about the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, which I gave 5 stars. But fun fact, it's also by the same author as Into the Drowning Deep, which I also gave 5 stars. So this had kind of a dual recommendation sort of thing. The review for Middle Game will be up on the second review for October as soon as that's posted. But basically, I'm going to say that I see why you all love this one. It is a great book. It's got good and bad things about it. I wouldn't say that it's perfect. No book is. But I see why everybody loves it. It is really, really good. So for November, here's what I want to do. I'm going to dig up a really, really old recommendation. I could give you crazy reasons why, but the bottom line is this book has been recommended to me many, 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 many times. I don't even remember the first time it came up. Somebody was shocked I hadn't read it, but then it came up again at 7.5 Deaths. It came up again just recently talking about Middle Game. Like, there are people, you are more shocked that I haven't read this book, I think, than any other book on my TBR. And it finally came available at my library, and I have the hardcover, so I'm going to read it finally. So that book is Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. And there's at least 2 people right now watching this going, finally! Like, you guys have been telling me to read this for so long, I can't even wrap my head around it. So I hope I love it as much as you think I will. I'm officially adding Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff to my November TBR as the title you recommend I read based on what you know I love. With those 4 Shield challenges we just talked about being completed for October, because of the one that you let me wiggle a new one in on, my October progress actually looked like this. So you'll notice I did actually put the big red X on the one I didn't get to, but I added the other one as a bonus book. In fact, I should mention something about that bonus section. You might notice there's a book there called Heart of Sunjin. It's a pretty red one by Jessica Willis. This was a review request that I was actually supposed to get to in September. I don't know how it got missed on the September TBR. I'm really sorry to Jessica. Thank you for being patient with me. It was a great book. Make sure you check that out. The review is featured on the first one. You don't want to miss that book or that series. They're pretty great. All in all, I finished 10 books in the month of October, which isn't too bad. When I add those 4 Shield challenges to November, my November TBR looks like this. I am rounding this out with 1 arc. I already mentioned that. It's the Map of Stars, and then 2 review requests, The Fields and Cinetic Wolf. So really this doesn't look like an overly large TBR, but at the issue, at the heart, at the desire, to be brutally honest with you, I should mention that there are 3 other arcs sitting on top of my bookshelf that I'm hoping to get to in the month of November. I'm telling you, there's a lot of family craziness going on in November, so I don't want to overwhelm myself, but they are there, and if you're one of those authors, I did not forget about you. My goal is to get to them, I promise. Yeah, anyway, that's the TBR. Let's move on. All right, so let's recap all of October against those 2020 goals. Are we ready? Training Tutor has been published. Go get yourself a copy. Both major editing projects for 2020 are officially done. I finished the Ghostly YA, which means my 0 drafts that I thought I would get to in 2020 are officially done. I fell further behind on my blog post goal, meaning I'm going to have to make up 3 blog posts at some point in 2020 if I plan on meeting this goal. I officially met my YouTube goal by posting my 55th video of the year. Thanks for watching it. I've read 125 books in 2020, and that is it for those goals so far. In fact, that's it for my 2020 progress. It has been a weird year, but I managed to accomplish most of the things that I thought I would in 2020. I'm just going to keep screaming at you about how awesome I think it is to have 1 sheet of year-long goals. That way, when you have a month where you fall behind, you can look back on it as it wasn't a year when you totally fell behind. You know what? I think my little friend here who's helped me out with the wrap-up would agree that I can call October a win anyway, right? I mean, the Ghostly YA is done, and that's all that really matters. I'm hoping I can finish 2020 strong and make you all proud in 2021. Drop a comment to let me know you're still here. Hit subscribe, tap that little bell so you know when I'm back. Keep plotting the path to your own dreams, and I will see you next time.